everyone, welcome to our channel Knowledge of Friends. Subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon for the latest update. आज हम लोग कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क की क्लास करने वाले हैं जो कि क्लास नंबर आपका 13 है। ऑलरेडी हमने 12 क्लासेस कर लिया है जिसमें हमने यूनिट 4 तक कंप्लीट भी कर लिया है, जिसमें हमने यूनिट 1 में जो डिस्कस किया था वो इंट्रोडक्शन टू कंप्यूटर नेटवर्क था। सेकेंड वाला जो हमने यूनिट किया है उसमें हमारा जो मीडियम एक्सेस सब लेयर वाला था पूरा कंप्लीट किया है। फिर उसके बाद यूनिट 3 में हमने नेटवर्क लेयर कंप्लीट किया है एंड यूनिट 4 में हमने ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर कंप्लीट किया है। एंड आज जो हम स्टार्ट करेंगे वो यूनिट 5 स्टार्ट करेंगे। यूनिट 5 का आज ये फर्स्ट क्लास है जिसमें हम एप्लीकेशन लेयर स्टार्ट करेंगे एंड होपफुली इन द नेक्स्ट कमिंग 2 classes will end up with this as well. So first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. Let's go ahead to discuss about the application layer here, where we'll have to discuss about the domain name system. So domain name system, that is stands for the DNS here. In the application layer, that we have to start with this domain name system that has been that is the full form of DNS, which stands for domain name system. So domain name system, that stands for the DNS here, which is very important क्योंकि ये कम से कम 5 से 6 बार पूछा गया है, वो भी 10 मार्क्स में. So that is very important here. So you have to understood. If you are making it as notes, you can just go ahead. In the DNS, that DNS is used by the application program for mapping, and it is used to change that the alias address as well to the IP address as well. For example, like a domain name system server is one of the main component of the application layer, where DNS, that is your domain name system, is a host name to the IP address translation services. DNS is a distributed database implemented in the hierarchy of the name server, and it is the application level protocol for message exchange between the client and the server as well. It is easier to remember to the host name that it is the remember an IP address, and a name has more meaning to a user than a 4-byte number, where applications such as FTP, HTTP and email etc. these comes under in it, and that all requires the user to input a destination, and the user generally enters the host name, where the application takes the host name supplied by the user and forwards it to the DNS for the translation to an IP address as well. Where the same case, the DNS can either TCP or UDP. DNS server handles the following information processing functions. So let's go ahead to discuss about functions. In the functions, there are the 5 functions, that finding the address of a particular host, then mapping IP address to host name, the finding a host that processes the incoming mail for the designated user, then naming a host that processes incoming mail for the designed target, finding an alias for the real name of the host as well. With the same case, if I'm talking about, these were the 5 functions of for the information processing function with reference towards the DNS. Now we'll talk about the goals of that is DNS. What were the goals here? In the terms of its goals, that is the goals that assign meaningful high-level name to the large set of the machines and handles the mapping of those names to the machine's IP address, where the DNS is distributed database that resides on basically that resides on multiple machines on the internet, and that are used and to convert names and address and to provide the email routing information as well, where the DNS provides a protocol that allows the client and the server to communicate with each other as well. With the same case, that the domain name are the case insensitive, COM and COM means that's the same thing here. And for the DNS, if you're writing a com in a short small letters and the com in the alphabet letter, so that means the same because it is insensitive. And the DNS protocols runs over the UDP and uses the port 53, where the DNS is specified in RFC 1034 and RFC 1035 as well. The DNS protocol is an application layer protocol where a full domain name is a sequence of the labels separated by the dots, where the DNS namespace is a hierarchy and it is similar to the Unix file system as well. With the same concept, we'll go ahead. That is, originally the internet was small and mapping between the names and the addresses was accomplished using a centrally maintained file called host.txt. To add a name or a change an address required contacting to the central administrator, updating the table and distributing it to all other that sites. And this solution worked at first because most of the site had only a few machines and table did not require the frequent changes as well. Where that the centrally maintained table suffered from the several drawbacks, and with this we have 4 drawbacks where we'll discuss about it. In the terms of our drawbacks here, that the name was that flat and no two machines could use the same machine name, and as the internet grew the changes to the database took days to week to take effect as well. The third drawback we have here, that is the central site became the congested with an increase in the number of the site retrieving copies of the current table. And the fourth drawback we have, that the internet grew at an astonishing rate as well. With this, that the domain name that is system, that is DNS, is a hierarchical distributed naming system that is designed to cope with the problem of explosive growth, where it is it is an hierarchical because the name space is partitioned and that is subdomains as well, partitioned into the subdomains, and it is distributed because management of the namespace is delegated to the local sites, and the local sites have complete control and responsibilities for their part of the namespace, and the DNS queries are handled by the servers called name servers, and it does not does more than just map machine name to the internet addresses. For example, it allows to the site to associate multiple machine with a single mailbox name as well. In the concept that in a DNS, the namespace is structured as a tree with a domain name that is referring to the nodes in the tree as well, and the tree has a root and a fully qualified domain in identified by the components of the path from the domain name to the root as well. Now we'll go ahead to discuss about the services provided by DNS. Services provided by DNS. So what were the services that has been provided by the DNS, that is your domain name system here? In this, the first services is your host aliasing. In this, that a host with a complicated host name that can have one or more alias name, DNS can be invoked by an application to obtain the canonical host name for the supplied alias host name as well as an IP address of the host as well. The second we have here is your that is mail server aliasing. Mail server aliasing, that is the DNS that can be invoked by a mail address application to obtain the host name for a supplied alias host name as well as the IP address of the host name as well. The third we have here is your load distribution. In the load distribution, that DNS is also used to perform load distribution among the replicated servers here. So these were the services provided by the DNS. The first is host aliasing, mail server aliasing, and the load distribution as well. So let's go ahead to discuss about the component of DNS. components of DNS. In the components of DNS, the DNS includes the following component. The first component is domain, second is your domain name, third is your name server, fourth is your name resolver, fifth is name cache, and sixth is zone. So that's we'll go ahead. The components we have, first is domain, the second is domain name, third is name server, the fourth is name resolver, fifth is name cache, and the sixth and the last is zone. So that is, and for example, that vtubooks.com is a site for the technical publication. Here com is the domain here. Okay, that is vtubooks.com. That domain name is defined by the DNS as being the sequence of the names and the domain as well. For example, vtubooks.com could be the domain name, and in the name server, the software program that maps the name to the address. It does this by mapping domain name to IP addresses, and name resolver is a software that the function as a client interacting with the same server as well. Where name cache is the storage used by the name resolver to store the information frequently, and that zone is the contiguous part of the domain here. So each and every one which we had discussed here with the domain and the domain name, as I told you about that video.com, that that has is it the site for the technical publication, where the com is the domain here. And for the domain name, that domain name is defined by the DNS as being the sequence of the names and the domain. And for example, video.com could be the domain name as well. Where in the name server here, that is in the name server, the software program that maps names to the address, and it does this by mapping domain name to IP address as well. With the name resolver is a software that function as a client interacting with the name server as well. In the name cache is the storage used by the name resolver to store the information frequently used. And for the zone here, that is the contiguous part of the domain here. Let's go ahead with another one, that what we have to discuss in the reference towards it, and that what is going to relate it about it, that is your application layer only. So let's go ahead with this. First we'll have to understood about write a short note on a DNS in the internet. So DNS in the internet, we'll go ahead, and for that that has also been asked of many times in the examination paper of the 7 marks, and that is your 10 marks and the 7 marks as well. We are in the terms of it, that the DNS is divided into the 3 different sections in the internet, and that is the generic domain, the country domain, and the inverse domain. So let's go ahead to discuss about it, and we are in the terms of it. DNS and the internet. Here we'll go ahead with the internet here. So here we'll go ahead with the DNS in the internet, and that what we have to discuss here. And in this, as I told you, that the DNS divided into the 3 different sections that in the internet, that is generic domain, country domain, and the inverse domain. And that the DNS and the internet is like, that is root, and that has been divided into 3. So here this is that comes under its inverse domain. The second we have here that is it comes under the generic domain, and here it is comes under that is comes under the country, that is your that country domain. These all comes under the DNS in the internet. This is your root. Okay, so here in the same case we'll talk about more in the detail. Now we'll go ahead with the generic domain, and then we will discuss about the country domain as well. So here that is the inverse domain, that is only the same one, and for the generic domain we'll discuss in the detail. In the generic domain, that each node in the tree that defines a domain which is the index to the domain namespace database. That is generic domain labels as follows, as that I will be discussing about it, and the description even though, and but for that we will have to go ahead with a tree structure diagram. This is a root level that has been divided into multiple here. So here it is, that is your first is your com, that has also been divided multiple times. This is divided into next, this is education, that is edu. STES, that has also been divided into 3. That is singled, that is your comes under STES, singled, and .edu. So here this is your government. Then we have your int. I will talk about it in deep with the table as well, so you don't worry about it. Then mil, that is your military here. Then net, that is your comes under network support centers, and then another one we have for the org, and that's what we have here. So this is all about the generic domain. Generic domain. That is your generic domain. In the same case for the generic domain that we had discussed it, and now let's go ahead with the table so that you will get to know in a very well manner. Serial number, that is will go ahead and then we'll label, and of course for the description. The serial number we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the first label is your com, which is your commercial organization. The second is your edu, that is educational organization. The third is your government, GOV, that is government institution. The next is your that is international organization. The next is your MIL, that is your military group. The next is your net, which is network support centers. The next is your org, which is non-profit organization. So this is it is the generic domains labels has been given it, and now we'll discuss about the country domain as well. In a country domain, if I'm talking about where we have to discuss, it uses the two character country abbreviation at a first level and a second level domain that can be more specific national destinations. For India, the country domain is like this is root, this is root level, which has been divided. So that is your, this is AE, it is FR, IN, that is ZW. These were the country domains that has been represented here. Let's go ahead with the third one, that is the inverse domain. In the terms of the inverse domain here, that is used to map an address to the name, and that, for example, when a client sends a request to the server for the doing a particular task, the server finds that the list of the authorized client, and the client contains only the IP address of the client as well, where the server sends a query to inverse DNS server and asks for mapping of addresses to name for authorized client list, and the above query is called as inverse or a pointer query as well. With the pointer query is handled by the first level node called APA, and that the second node is called one single node named that is in adder, that is in address as well. The rest of the domain defined as IP addresses, and for that we'll go ahead here. That is the representation. This is the root level, that is ARPA. Then it has been divided into many, then it is divided into int address as I told you, then this is also being divided into many, and then this is your IP addresses 132, then that is also divided into next, that is 36, and then of course that is also being divided into many. So in that is your 50, then that is also divided into many, that is your 120. So this is the inverse domain representation here. Let's go ahead to another one that we have to discuss, that is how does the DNS perform data name resolution, and what were the different types of the name servers. The mentions the DNS message format for the query reply message as well. So for talking about the name resolutions, the name resolution, the first we have for the name resolution here, that is recursive resolution. In recursive resolution, where a client requests a complete translation, and if the server is authority for the domain name, it checks the database and responds, and if the server is not authority, that it sends a request to the another server and waits for the response as well. This has been asked of 10 marks. When the query is finally resolved and the response tracked back until it finally reaches to the requesting client, this is called recursive resolution. And the recursive resolution that is it has been represented in the form like they have the recursive resolution here, that it is in it is edu, then here it is, this is the client, okay, this is client, this is same for it, this is it.edu. So it will go first, then it will transmit it out to Then after that, here it is as well. So this is the that is your ts.edu. Then third will come here. That is third is going from here to this here, and then after that, that is your 4. This is your 5, and then to coming to the client, that is your 6 here. This is a recursive resolution. For other than that, I will discuss about iterative resolution here. And in the iterative resolution, what it is stands for, that is your edu. This is edu. Then it is that is it.edu. This is sts.edu, and this is client. From here, that is from the client, it will go to the it.edu, and it will reverse back. This is 1 and this is 2nd, and then it will go towards the edu, that is the education, and then of course it will comes towards it, that back for the 4th, and this is 3rd. And when it will go to the std.edu, this is 5th, then it will return, that is your 6th. This is iterative resolution. In the iterative resolution, going on a deep here, that is iterative resolution, that only a single resolution is made and returned, that is not recursive, where the client must know explicitly contact different name servers it further resolution is needed, and if the server is an authority for the name, it sends the answer, and if it is not, then it returns to the IP addresses of the server, that is things that can resolve the query, and the client is responsible for repeating the query to this second server, and this process is called iterative resolution, because the client repeats the same query to the multiple servers, and that is known as iterative resolution that we had done here. And here in the same case, that the DNS uses the two types of the server, that is a primary server and the secondary server. In the primary server, this server keeps a file about the zone for which it is responsible and have an authority. It performs operations on zone file like create, update, and maintaining. For the secondary server, that is, it loads all the information from the primary server and the secondary server that can perform any operations on the zone file. Let's go ahead with the another one, that is related to the message format. So here, that is the types of servers in DNS that we have. The first is your primary server, which we had discussed. Second is your secondary server. Now we'll go ahead with the message format. In the message format, their messages are sent between the domain clients and the domain server with a specific format, and for all messages of this format that are used, the name resolutions and the naming query, where the questions sent by the client and the answer provided by the server that are included within the different fields of the same message here. That the DNS has been divided into two types of messages. The query and response, both types have the same format, and the query message that is consists of the header question, and that question record, and that is answer record, authoritative record, and additional record as well. The query and the response message can be represented here, that is this is your query, and this is your there we have so this is your that is your response. So in this this is your header and this is your question section. And this is your query, this is a query message, and here it is header. This is your question section. This is the another one, we have your answer section. This is your authoritative section. And this is your additional information section, that is your response one. So let's go ahead with the that is the header format for the DNS here, and that is the general format for DNS. And for general format for DNS here, in this we have structured then we have this is the general format of DNS here, and where we have is your that is your identification. This is flag, this is from 31, and this is bit 0, and from here to this that is of 12 bytes. And this is the general format where the identification flags, that is number of question, number of answers, this is number of authority, and this is your number of additional records. These were questions, answers, authority, and additional information. So this is the general format for the DNS here. For the identification, it is a 16-bit field and a unique value used for the client to match responses to queries as well. This is the flag, it is the collection of subfields that defines the types of messages and the types of answer requested and so on. The number of the flags, number of the questions record contain the number of the queries in the question sections of the message here. The number of the answers here that records the contain the number of the answer records in the answer sheet of the response message. The number of the authority here that records contain the number of authority records in the authoritative sections of the respond message, where the number of additional if I'm talking about then number of additional records that contain the number of additional records there. In additional sections of the response message, and the message has fixed 12 bytes header followed by the 4 variable length field, and the additional field is set by the client and returned by the server, and it lets the client match a response to the request here. So these were the flag fields in the DNS header that we had discussed about it, and flag fields in the DNS header that what we have to go on through a detail as well, that we have. So the flags that we have here, this is bits, and here it is. So here we have QR, that is 1, opcode, that is 4, AA, that is your 1, TC1, RD1, RA1, 0, that is 3, and R code, that is 4. So this is the flag fields in the DNS header here, and with the same case the flag fields is divided into the 8 part. That is, the first is your QR, that is 0, and for message is query, and the first is it is response here, and for the opcode here, that is the 0 is the standard query, and 1 is the inverse query, and the second is the server status query here. The AA is, that is your the authoritative answer here. The TC is your, that is truncated, and RD is recursive query, and RA is your that is your recursive available here, and recursive available, and R code is return code. So where RD field is 1 bit and that can be set in the query and then returned into the response. This flag tells the name server to handle the query itself, that is called recursive query as well. And in the same case, the RA is a 1 bit field, and that's set to 1 in the response, and if the server supports recursion, this is a 3 bit field, and that must be 0. And for the R code is a 4 bit field, and the common value are 0, and for number errors and 3, that is for the name error as well. And for here, with the same case, that a name error is returned only from the authoritative name server, and means that the domain name specified in the query does not exist. The next 4 16-bit field that specifies the number of entries in the 4 variable lengths field that complete the record here. So let's go ahead with the detail of that email. Explain the SMTP that can handle the transfer of videos and images, and also explain the advantages of AP4 over POP3, that mail access protocol here, and that has been asked for 10 marks and which is very important as well. So in the same reference towards it, email. That is, SMTP can transfer of video and images. So in the reference towards it, SMTP is the application layer protocol of the TCP/IP protocol and model, and for that SMTP transfers messages from the sender's mail server to the recipient mail server as well. In the same case, the SMTP interacts with a local mail system and not the user. SMTP uses a TCP socket on a port 25 to transfer email reliably from a client to server, and the email is temporarily stored on the local and eventually that transferred directly to the receiving server as well, where the client server interactions follows in a command response paradigm, and that is, the command are plain ASCII text, and responses are the status code and the optional phase. The command and response lines terminated with a CRLF, and client application interacts with a local SMTP server to initiate the query of delivery of an email messages as well. And there is an input queue and an output queue as the interfaces between the local mail system and the client and the server parts of the SMTP as well, where the client is concerned with initiating the transfer of the mail to the another system, while the server is concerned with the receiving mail before the email message that can be transferred, and the application process must be set up an TCP connection to the local SMTP server. The local mail server returns a mailbox for each user into which the user can deposit and retrieve mail. where mail handling system must use a unique addressing system as well, where the addressing system used by the SMTP that consists of the two parts, that is a local part and a global part, where the local part is the username and is unique only within that local mail address system, and the global part of the address is the domain name, where the domain name is identifier of the host must be unique within the total internet here. And the SMTP uses the different types of component, and they are MIME and POP as well. And for that, the scenario of Alias sends message to Bob, where the Alias uses the user agent to compose message, and to that that is Bob at the rate singhat that.gq, and that is Alias UA sends message to her mail server, that is the message placed in that is a message queue, and client side of SMTP opens the TCP connection with the Bob's mail server, where SMTP client sends Alias message over the TCP connection, and Bob's mail server places the message in the Bob's mailbox, and Bob invokes his user agent to read message here. With the same case as of now, that will go ahead with the diagram as well, and that is this is message scenario, and where it is consist of, like, this is an Alias, then this is your, that is user agent, it will go towards it, then the mail server, then fourth is going to the mail server, next it will go to user agent, that is received by Bob, Alias to Bob here. Let's go ahead to discuss about the command response that we have. Command response, and which is your MTA client, where MTA stands for the message transform agent here, and this is a client, and that commands go to the MTA server, and it returns and responds that to comes MTA client here. For the SMTP, that uses the command and response to transfer the messages between the MTA client and an MTA server. Each command or reply is terminated by a 2-character end of the line token. The commands are sent from the client that is to the server, and SMTP defines the 14 commands, where SMTP command consists of the human readable ASCII string. The SMTP commands are, the first command we have is your, that is hello, and that initiates a mail transaction identifying the sender to the recipient. The second we have is your, that is mail from, that is tells the remote SMTP that a new mail transaction is beginning. The third is, that is RCPT do, that is receipt to, that is the sending the SMTP sends the RCPT command for the intended receiver. The fourth we have is your data here, that it if accepted, the senders transfer the actual message. End of the message is indicated by using this courses here and on the line by itself. And the fifth we have is your quit, that terminate the connection here. So these were the 5 SMTP commands are used. Now we'll talk about the advantages of IMA4 over POP3 mail access protocol here. Here that what we have to discuss. Advantages of IMAP4 over POP3 mail access protocol. That is, we have 7 advantages of IMA4 AP4 over POP3 mail access protocol. The first advantages is user can check the email header prior to downloading. The second is user can partially download email. The third is a user can create, delete and rename mailboxes on the mail server. The fourth is a user can create a hierarchy of mailboxes in the folder for email storage as well. The fifth is user can search the contents of the email for a specific string of the character. And the sixth is that an IMAP that client connects to the server by using the TCP. And the seventh is that it was designed to help the user who uses the multiple computers here. So that is the 7 advantages of IMAP4 over POP3 mail access protocol here. Let's go ahead with another one, that is to explain the 2 mail access protocol in brief, and which we'll have to discuss about POP3 first. That is has been asked of 10 marks. POP3 in a detail. So here that a POP3 is a full form of POP3 is, that is Post Office Protocol. That is 3, and POP3 is used to transfer email message from a mail server to the mail client software, where a POP3 begins when the user agent opens the TCP connection to the mail server on the port 110, and after the TCP connection established, POP3 progress 3 phases, and these 3 phases we have is your first is your authorization, the second is transaction, and the third is your update. And for that, in authorization phase, that user agent sends a username and a password to the authenticate the user downloading the mail, where in the transaction phase it occurs that the user agent retrieves the messages. In this phase, the user agent can also mark message for the deletion and remove deletion mark as well. In the update phases, that it occurs after the client has issued the quit command, ending with the POP3 sessions here, where the POP3 has a 2 modes, that is a delete mode and a keep mode here, where in the delete mode that mail is deleted from the mailbox after each retrieval, and in a keep mode the mail remains in the mailbox after the retrieval as well. And for the downloading, they using POP3 here, that we will using it in the form of that we have a structure here. That we have, this is your mail server, this is your user computer, then it will goes on. I'll make it that. will connect it to one another. And when from user computer to the mail server, this is from mail server to user computer, then again it will be connected. Then we have, then again we have your inbox. Then here it is connected. This is one-on-one connected, and this is your POP3. For that we have here is that is user name that has been connected from user computer to mail server. Then from mail server to user computer is okay. Then from user computer to mail server, that is we have in the terms of it, and that is the password. Then it will ask okay, then the list, then email, numbers and their sizes. Then this is to retrieve one, email one, then so on, and then retrieve n, email n. So this is a POP3 here. Let's go ahead to discuss about the limitation of POP3. In the limitations of POP3 here, where the limitations are that the POP3 does not allow the user to organize mail on the server, and the user cannot have different folders on the server, where the POP3 does not allow the user to partially check the content of the email before downloading as well. And in the same case that the IMAP that we have to discuss here in the detail. In the IMAP, that is the stands for Internet Mail Access Protocol. Internet Mail Access Protocol, where IMAP4 is more powerful and more complex. It was designed to help the user who uses the multiple computers, where IMAP does not copy email to the user's personal machine because the user may have several. And with IMAP that supports the following, where IMAP clients connects to the server by using the TCP as well, and IMAP that supports the following modes for accessing the email messages, that is your offline mode, online mode and disconnected mode here. So that we'll discuss in the detail as well. That is your offline mode, online mode and disconnected mode. In offline mode, of course, that is your a client periodically connects to the server to the download email messages, and after downloading the messages are deleted from the server. That POP3 supports this mode here. In the same case, the online mode here, that is the client process email messages on the server, and the email messages are stored on the server itself but are processed by an application on the client's end here. And for the disconnected mode here, that is that it in this mode that both offline and online modes are supported. Now we'll go ahead with the IMAP4 provides the following extra functions. That is, the first is your that the user can check the email header prior to downloading, and user can partially download email and a user can create, delete and rename mailboxes on the mail server, and a user can create a hierarchy of mailboxes in the folder for the email storage, and user can search the contents of the email for a specific strings of the character as well. In the same case, the SMTP we had gone through with the detail. Now we'll go ahead to discuss about write a short note on MIME and what is multi-purpose international mail extensions, and for it what it is used for. This both question has been asked of 10 marks, that is of the different examination. So let's go ahead to discuss about MIME here. So in the case of the MIME, as I told you about the MIME full form, that is your multi-purpose internet mail extension. So for here, that the another question they can ask you in the terms of it, like why when web pages are sent out, they are prefixed by MIME headers, and why this has been asked of 5 marks. So MIME is a supplementary protocol that allows the non-ASCII data to be sent through the SMTP, and MIME defines an IETF to allow the transmission of non-ASCII data via the email, and it allows the arbitrary data to be encoded in the ASCII, and that the normal transmission and all the media types that are sent by receive over the worldwide that is your World Wide Web, that are encoded using different MIME types as well. We are in the same case that the message sent using the MIME encoding that include the information that describes the type of the data and the encoding that was used, where RFC822 that is specifies the extra format for the email header and mail header lines, as well as their semantics interpretations as well. With the same case for the working of MIME, if I'm going towards it, working of MIME. In working of MIME, we have this is user, this is user as well. So here in this is your MIME, where it is your non-SCI code here, and for that this is 7-bit ASCII, and this is your SMTP 7-bit ASCII, this is SMTP, this is as well as MIME, this is non-ASCII code, and this is 7-bit ASCII. So this is all total related to a diagram, that is your MIME. Here that MIME defines the headers, where MIME version content type is your content transfer encoding, content ID and content description. That is MIME defines the 5 headers. First is your MIME version, MIME content type, content transfer encoding and content ID, and with the same case for content description, and entertains mail message header that it consists of a from that like irish@email.com and to that rupali@singhar.edu. So that MIME version is 1.0 content type image or GIF, and content transfer encoding that is base 64. So the data for the image here, and for the MIME type and the subtype, if I'm talking about, so each MIME content type must contain 2 identifiers, that is your content type and a content subtype, where there are the 7 standards content type that can appear in the MIME content type declaration. The first type is your text, the subtype is your plain, and the description is that unformatted text as well. The second is your multi-part type, and that is the subtype is mixed, and description is that body contains ordered part of the different data types as well. And here in the second is your parallel, that is same as above but no orders, and the digest, that is your similar to the mixed part but of the default as message, and alternate, that is part of a different versions of the same messages as well. We are in talking about the another one, that is your video here. That is the other type here, that is the subtype is MPEG, and the description is video is in MPEG format here. The audio is the basic, that is single channel encoding of voice of 8 kilohertz, that is of sound file, and JPEG images in the form of JPEG and GIF. So JPEG, that is images in the JPEG format, and GIF, that images in the GIF format. Messages, the partial and external body, and the entire email message or an external references to a message as well, that is the description. And for the application, there are the two type of application, that is PostScript and Octet Stream. And PostScript, that is Adobe PostScript, and Octet Stream, that is a general binary data here. And for that, the content transfer encoding, if I am talking about here, that is the transfer encoding here. And that is this header defines the method to encode the message into that is 0 and 1 for the transport, and the content transfer encoding is a type, and where the 5 types of the encoding is listed. The type first is your 7-bit, where it has a description that ASCII character and a bit short lines. 8-bit, that is your non-ASCII character and a short lines. Binary, that is non-ASCII character with unlimited length lines. Base 64, and which is your the 6-bit blocks of the data are encoded into 8-bit ASCII character. The next is the quoted primitives, that is non-ASCII character that are encoded as an equal sign followed by an ASCII code as well. Okay, so in the same case, if I'm talking about let's go ahead with the detail of architecture of services, the electronic mail, the components related to that. But first of all, we will end up with here, and first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button, and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. And you will be provided each and every classes that is on the time, and we will be having your reasoning as well as your artificial intelligence as well. And in this, that we had done your unit 1, that is your introduction to computer network, and where we had done about it, that is your related to the goals and application of network structures and architecture, the OSI references, model services, network topology design, delay analysis, backbone design, local access network design, physical layer transmission media, switching method, ISDN terminals handling as well. In unit 2, we had completed the medium access sublayer, which is medium access sublayer, channel allocations, LAN protocol, Aloha protocol, overview of IEEE standard, FDDI, data link layer, elementary data link protocol, sliding window protocol, error handling. Unit 3 is your network layer, that is network layer, point-to-point network, routing congestions control, implementation, and that is internetworking, and TCP, IP packet, IP address, IPv6 as well. In unit 4, that we have completed, that is your transport layer, that is your transport layer, design issues, connection management, sessions layer, design issues, remote procedure call, presentation layer, design issues, data compression technique, cryptography, TCP, window management as well. Where in the terms of unit 5, application layer, which we had done, application layer, file transfer, access and management, electronic mail, virtual terminals, other application examples, network, internet and a public network, that we have to discuss in the next coming classes. So it's a huge request to my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button, and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. And thanks to all those subscribers, those who had subscribed our channel, because your support is very important to us, and all that videos you required of if any of the subject that we had not done, and you can just tell me on the comment section. And we had done many more subjects like web technology we had completed, and we are doing computer network, artificial intelligence and reasoning in these days. And other than that, we had completed many more subjects. You can go through with the playlist. You can please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Thank you, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and give a suggestion on the comment box. Thank you.